What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Skull Network. My name is Nick, and the NFL regular season is almost upon us. 2 days from when I'm recording this, and 1 day from when you're seeing this, Thursday night, we'll be kicking off the regular season. And that can only mean one thing: we're getting back into the weekly pick segment on the channel. I hope for this to be a lot more organized over the course of the season. I'm going to try and keep track of things a lot more, and hopefully things will just be overall better now that I have a year of this under my belt. I'm going to try and keep explanations to as little as I can, just to keep this short for you. So if I miss an important point about a team that you maybe care about, I apologize, but there's so much I can do. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the first week of the NFL picks for 2021. Kicking things off, we have the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday. And as we know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have returned all the starters from the Super Bowl winning team, which is absolutely ridiculous. The Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, they're getting back Dak Prescott, but they are going to be without Zach Martin. They do have a lot of weapons on offense. The defense still seems a little suspect to me, and in this one, I do think it could be relatively close if Dak plays how he started off last season, but I do think the Buccaneers are just too strong of a team on both sides of the ball. I will be taking Tampa Bay to open up the season. Moving on to the Sunday games in no particular order, we're kicking it off with Arizona and the Tennessee Titans. As we know, Tennessee has one of the more potent offenses now in the league now that they have acquired Julio Jones. Same goes for the Arizona Cardinals. They have a lot of great pieces on offense. Running game leaves a little bit to be desired, as well as the defense, but same goes for Tennessee, so I could see this being a relatively high scoring game with two very powerful offenses. But in the end, I do like Tennessee just a little bit more here. I think Derrick Henry has a field day with the Cardinals defense. So with that being said, I will be taking Tennessee, probably by a hair with this one. Next up is the Battle of the Birds with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons. As we know, the Falcons lost Julio Jones over the course of the offseason, but did gain back a little bit of firepower in Kyle Pitts. Hopefully he turns out really well. And the Eagles are still trying to develop that receiving core, picking up Devonta Smith over the course of the offseason in the draft. Both of these defenses are very suspect. The Falcons do have a prominent running back in Mike Davis now, so they're hoping that he's able to produce some there. And there is a lot of hope behind Jalen Hurts right now, but it really doesn't seem like the Eagles really even like him that much. And with all that being said, I do think this game will be relatively close, but the Eagles receiving core still gives me a lot of question marks. I know you have Dallas Goedert, you have Miles Sanders in the backfield, who is, a little on and off here. Same kind of goes for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know, I just trust Matt Ryan a little more than Jalen Hurts right now. We obviously know Matt Ryan, it's his 14th season. Not by much here. I think I'll be taking the Atlanta Falcons. Next up is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills, two of the better teams from the course of last season. As we know, the Bills almost made it to the Super Bowl, and the Steelers had that 11-0 start last season, and well, we know where that went. The Steelers do have one of the best defenses in the league, as well as a very strong young receiving core, but Big Ben just worries me quite a bit here. And I feel like Josh Allen is only going to get better as time goes on now, as he fixes mechanics and learns more about the way the NFL works. He's got Stephon Diggs. Running game is suspect, but Buffalo's defense is super solid too. I think this one's going to be very close as well. But I think to start off the season, I do think that Buffalo will be taking this one. Now moving on to my personal favorite game of the week, Minnesota Vikings versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow coming off that ACL injury, and Kirk Cousins, well, he might sustain one himself if the offensive line doesn't pick things up. But in all seriousness, there's a lot of question marks surrounding both teams. The offensive line of Cincinnati, whether the defense is going to be as good as we think it is in Minnesota, same with the offensive line. There are some sure things with each team, but I just don't like Joe Burrow right now. I mean, we obviously don't know what we're going to see with him, whether he's going to be very mobile at all. And of course, I'm a homer, so I don't even know why I discussed this long. I'm going to obviously be taking the Minnesota Vikings. Moving on, we have a pair of teams that are probably not going to perform super well this season, but both have new starting quarterbacks, the Texans and the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence played well towards the end of the preseason, and obviously Deshaun Watson will not be playing for the Texans, which is a major loss considering he's about the only bright spot on that team, considering the main offensive weapons they have are Brandon Cooks and David Johnson. That being said, I do like the Jaguars just a little bit more in this one. A few more weapons on offense. Both of these defenses are relatively suspect too, but I do like Trevor Lawrence and where he's going. I do think that Jacksonville should win this one. I am going to be surprised if the Texans win more than 2 games this year. I'll be taking Jacksonville. Next up, we have one of my almost locks of the week, which sounds a little weird because the 49ers don't have a great offensive attack with Jimmy Garoppolo under center, but that defense should be healthy and should be just as great as they were 2 years ago when they were in the Super Bowl. And the Lions, well, they took a lot of steps back. Defense still has a lot to be desired. Penei Sewell isn't necessarily panning out super well so far from what I've heard. And let's face it, Jared Goff is nowhere near the quarterback that Matthew Stafford is, and they really only have a couple weapons on offense. No receivers. They got TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift. Not a great recipe for success. I think that the San Francisco defense has a field day here, and I think that San Francisco will take this one relatively easily. Next, we have the Seahawks and the Colts. At this time that I'm recording this, The status of Carson Wentz is a little unsure. Quentin Nelson, I don't believe is playing in this game last time I checked. Luckily for the Colts though, they do have a solid defense led by DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard amongst others, but the Seahawks do have one of the more potent offensive attacks in the league. Not the most solid defense in the world, but they definitely make up for it enough with Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, all those guys. And I do think even if Carson Wentz does start, he's not in a much better situation than he was in Philadelphia. Personal opinion, you guys can say whatever you want. I think even if Carson Wentz does start, which is still questionable, I do think that Seattle will have a relatively easy time kind of blowing this out of the water. Next, we have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Washington football team. Washington, one of the best defenses in the league, but the Chargers, one of the best overall rosters in the league when you look at it player for player. Justin Herbert was incredible last season and is bound to be a top 5 quarterback here within the next few years, if not this year. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is always a fun story. You really never know what you're going to get with him though, whether it's going to be Fitzmagic or the complete opposite, and he's going to, the bed. And just because I don't know what Fitzpatrick we're going to get, I'm going to stay away from Washington for the time being. If he starts heating up, I'll start picking him. But to start things off, I do think that the Chargers will take this one. Next up, we have the return of Christian McCaffrey and the return of Sam Darnold against his old team with the Panthers versus the Jets. This is going to be the first career start for Zach Wilson, and he's not in the best situation, let's face it. Sam Darnold has been moved into a much better situation. He will have Christian McCaffrey back, he'll have DJ Moore. He will have plenty of offensive weapons to work with, and I do think that Carolina could have quite a good offense this year, contrary to what a lot of people probably believe, just because they don't like Sam Darnold. And this is like the Ryan Fitzpatrick thing. I like Zach Wilson, I like how he performed in the preseason, but I mean, we obviously haven't seen him against full starters for an entirety of a game. So until that question mark is cleared up, I can't really go with the Jets right now. I would like to later in the season, but right now I'm going to be going with Carolina. Moving on, we have the Broncos and the Giants. The Giants, yes, they're going to be getting Saquon Barkley back. Yeah, they got Kenny Golladay, but Denver might have the best roster in the entire league. Their defense is out of this world. Teddy Bridgewater might be the only question mark, but let's face it, he's better than Drew Lock. Tons of weapons on offense, and the Giants have Daniel Jones, and I think that's all I really need to say. I'll be taking Denver. Next up is the Patriots and the Dolphins, the first start for the now starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, Mac Jones, going up against second-year quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who seems to be in place for big improvement this season. Obviously, that is yet to be seen. This one is one of those toss-up ones. AFC East battle is probably going to be very close, but I think the tides are changing, and the Dolphins have a very, very, very great defense, top 5 in my opinion. I do think that they'll be able to handle Mac Jones in his first career start. I'll be taking Miami. Next up is probably the game of the week for me besides the Vikings, because it's a rematch of the AFC divisional round from last year, Kansas City and the Cleveland Browns. A lot of improvements made on both sides of the ball for both of these teams over the course of the offseason, but I'm sorry, Kansas City, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to their 3rd Super Bowl in a row this season. I think Cleveland's going to put up a great fight just like they did last year, but I think if this offensive line in Kansas City isn't improved as much as people think, they might go 17-0. And I'm going to put that out there now. I say they might. I don't say they will, they might. I think they take this one, but I will be close. Next up is the Packers and the Saints. This is going to be the last dance for Aaron Rodgers and possibly Devontae Adams. They're going to ball out this season. I like Jameis Winston. I think he might have a decent chance in the Saints system, but you're not going to have Michael Thomas. You're going to rely on Alvin Kamara a lot. Not a lot of other weapons besides there. Solid defense over there in New Orleans, but ultimately, even as a Vikings fan, I can admit the Packers are going to start off the season very hot. Sunday Night Football will pit the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears against one another, and this one's going to be pretty easy. Matt Stafford coming over to the Rams. That is an incredible situation for him to have gone into, with one of the best defenses in the league, going up against a team ran by Andy Dalton. I'm sorry, this one, Chicago, this one's going to be a little nasty. I'm picking Los Angeles pretty easily here. And to round off week 1 for Monday Night Football, we have the Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas, they lost a lot of pieces on offense, specifically on the offensive line. I wouldn't be surprised if Derek Carr struggled a lot, especially against a very solid Baltimore defense. Lamar Jackson is as dangerous as ever. Yes, they lost J.K. Dobbins, but that rushing attack is still going to be potent with Lamar regardless. Yes, the receiving core is still a little weak over there in Baltimore, but I do think that defense is strong enough to take on a relatively weak Raiders offense besides basically Darren Waller and a little bit of Derek Carr. Henry Ruggs has not proven anything to me yet. I do think that this will be pretty easy for Baltimore. Probably by a lot. I'm going to be taking the Ravens. And that's going to wrap up week 1 picks, guys. I'm sure you guys are all pumped. I am absolutely elated for this weekend. It's going to be great. If you guys agreed with my picks, let me know down in the comments below. And if you disagreed, definitely let me know down in the comments below. We'll all have a conversation. It'll be a lot of fun. Get to talk real football again. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the button down below to subscribe. The giveaway is at 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you are part of that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like as well. If you want to share this video and these picks with anyone that you know, you can do that with anyone on any platform. And if it's a crack dealer on the corner, that's your guys' best option. You guys already know. My name's Nick. I'll see you guys all in the first recap of the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals. Adios.